Well, what did you learn from watching the film?
Well, like I said, the way I pitched it to him today was we got to learn, because LAFC put us in exactly the same position that they did the first game, and that's exactly how they want those games to play out. So the way we started the game, were we tentative in attack? Did we defend properly? Some of those pretty explicit examples of where we can do better, followed up by their goals that they scored, followed up by some of the positive plays that we had, and the message was we're going to get one more shot at them, and let's make sure that we're ready.
Is it kind of a trick to be able to get focus in on Minnesota, but maybe wanting to plan for that Open Cup match a little bit?
Very hard, very tricky, because the final message that I had to him this morning is, but we got a game in between, and right now the Minnesota game is absolutely the most important game to get us back in a good way for the regular season stretch. So let's see if we can manage that.
Is there also, as far as Starfire, how much surface, atmosphere, any of that, how will that
all
play
of it
at
will
all?
play into it. All
How
of it.
so?
It'll go into lineup choices, tactics, everything. It's going to be a different game.
When you look back at that game in hindsight, did you feel like your back line was just too
Out of
high
sorts.
and
No.
maybe
Just out of sorts. First goal, Alex is too far in. He's got to see that. The goal that came from the corner kick, Ymar stepping in midfield. I mean, there's no business stepping there. No business. Bogusz on the other side, got him behind twice, knew who, Rothrock, Jackson going with, the center forward, and Bogusz. It wasn't a good game for them.
so it had nothing to do where they were positioned.
Nope. It was individual plays and their distance between themselves across a field.
How much of a variable is Starfire? Is it like, are we overstating it, or is that like to Jake's question?
I think the atmosphere is going to be great. I think the field plays smaller. I think there's a big difference.
Does it feel like it's a big enough difference to be? Because obviously you got to be looking for variables that you can change, right?
I think we should supposedly have the advantage. I mean, we've played there. There's a lot of history there. There's guys on this field, Christian, Jordan, Steph Fry, Andrew Thomas, who else? Lots of guys have played Open Cup games on that field. They know the history.
For a team that likes to stretch the field the way they do, and Maurice with those bombs, I mean, that's got a lesson in a field like this one, right? I mean, it's going to be more difficult for him to do that, do you feel like?
Well, we'll drop our lines a little bit, because you make one mistake on a shorter field, you don't get time to recover.
How much play time does Pedro need, like maybe on Minnesota, to be ready if you want him for an LAFC? Or where is he
I'm
at?
considering starting Pedro against Minnesota.
So he is completely healthy. It's
Yep.
just like with the
Yep.
time. And then do you know, like from a, I don't want to put too much on being a World Cup kind of player, because they have done that a while ago. But do you know, like, mentality of playing at Starfire, if that might be too small of a venue for a person who's been at a World Cup?
Probably.
I don't know. I don't know if there's a.
You can ask
attitude
them. You can
shift.
ask them when they get here. I have no idea what they're going to do. What I know what we're going to do, and we'll see which team comes out on top.
When it comes to Leagues Cup, I mean, this tournament was used by a lot of teams to kind of maybe ignite their season. Seattle had some good results, but ends in a bad one. What's the end result of it? Whether it's
Good question, because we talked about that, the Leagues Cup as a whole, not just the 3-0 loss in Leagues Cup. But we had a good performance against Minnesota. Stunk it up there against Necaxa. What did we learn from Necaxa? How did we respond from that game against Necaxa to lead us into Galaxy and Pumas, two very good games? And how can we learn from this game now that's going to push us in through a tough Minnesota team that, is different? So absolutely, we talked about the tournament as a whole and some of the positives, because we did go a long ways. We're a couple games shy of a CCL berth.
Minnesota hasn't played since their last, they've been off for, I guess, 3 weeks now. How does that factor in? You guys basically playing on a normal cadence, them playing, but having logged a bunch of matches.
The only thing I can tell you, and Minnesota's Minnesota, they got to deal with their own problems, but last year when we bailed out in Leagues Cup, our first game back was against my good friend Gonzo, who spanked me pretty good 2-0, because our team was rusty. So that's just a story.
From where I was standing, it seemed like Jackson, Cody, and Brodilio were working on their own. Are they all okay?
Jackson's in concussion protocol. Cody's still got a surgery on his wrist. Brodilio is just doing extra fitness.
When did Jackson suffer?
It came after the game. Remember, we got hit in the head late in the game, turned his head, hit him in the thing. He should be fine by the weekend, but he's in concussion protocol.
As far as analyzing stuff, you had said after the match that you didn't fault him for any of those goals. So there wasn't any rust or anything like that for him not playing fine.
No. I mean, he makes a couple of really good. Bogusz came down first play down there right, makes a great save. Alex clears it out. The save he makes on the corner kick that they eventually score from keeps us in the game. For that moment, for that 30 seconds. I mean, he had a good game.
We talked a lot about defense, but offensively, I mean, regardless of going down a goal early, it seemed like Jordan really didn't get on the ball enough. What were the things that you saw in video when it came to that?
The timing was off because Jordan, he wears his emotions on his sleeve. Sometimes he runs, doesn't get the ball, goes like this. Everybody sees it, fans see it, coaches see it, his teammates see it. He's got to change that. There's times when he runs and he gets the ball and he's happy and he gets the ball and he feels involved in the game. There was too many times when he was making runs that he wasn't rewarded, and then there were times when it was the right moment to make a movement in behind, and he probably should have. So, we need to get him involved more. We know his strengths, but again, look, that game unfolded exactly how LAFC wanted to. And as soon as they got a goal up, they dropped deep, and that's always challenging.
In terms of your substitutions, what did you see in tape? Leo, Raul, what they were able to do in the short time they had?
Fine, the game was cooked by then. I mean, I wanted to score a goal. I wanted to get something that we could hang our hat on. Those guys came on and did pretty good.
Obviously, the semifinal against the LAFC is coming up. How much is that gonna speculate or kind of condition the way you set up against Minnesota? You're gonna go full on, or
We're going full on for Minnesota, full on for the Open Cup.